Welcome to SCOMathon. My name is Blake Drum, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to a suite of tools and scripts designed to enhance System-Centered Operations Manager. Today we'll be diving into how we can extend SCOM's capabilities, making it not only more powerful, but also more attuned to our daily operational needs. SCOM has been instrumental in our IT environments, providing critical insights and alerts. But beyond its core functionalities lies a realm of untapped potential. That's where these scripts and tools come in, bridging gaps and smoothing out the complexities inherent in managing such powerful systems. With each script, we aim for optimization, automation, and simplification of processes. These tools are more than just code. They're solutions to enhance the SCOM experience, ensuring your environments are monitored with precision. Let's begin with our exploration of these scripts and understand how they can transform your approach to operations management. For those who haven't met me in the field, I've been with Microsoft support since January 2020, deeply involved with SCOM, working through complex challenges to provide clear solutions. I also like to update the Microsoft documentation with new information that I come across. January 2024, I made the move to the Azure Automation team, diving into how PowerShell can streamline our cloud services, always with an eye on efficiency and smart automation. I've spent a fair amount of time creating tools that I wish I had when I started with SCOM, tools that address real-world issues. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. Before we dive in, please take note of the next slide. As we move forward, I want to point out an important notice regarding the scripts I'm sharing today. Each script is provided under the MIT license, which grants you permission to freely use, modify, and distribute the work, as long as you comply with the terms outlined. Make sure you understand how each script functions and the effects it can have on your systems before you implement them. It's all about using these tools responsibly to ensure they benefit your operations without any hiccups. Managing SCOM isn't always smooth sailing. We're talking about handling complex configurations, ensuring peak performance, and of course, keeping the servers up and running without interruptions. These aren't just technical tasks, they're essential for robust and efficient system operation, yet they often take up more time than we'd like. Consider the meticulous work needed to fine-tune settings to prevent data bloat, or the troubleshooting we dive into when connectivity hiccups appear on management servers. And then there's the SQL database. Relocating it adds another layer of complexity that can really test your patience. That's exactly why I've developed a suite of PowerShell tools. These aren't just scripts. They're solutions designed to cut through these common, yet time-consuming challenges. The aim is not just to make SCOM troubleshooting and maintenance easier, but also more reliable. We will dive into each of these 6 PowerShell tools. I will also be showing you live demonstrations. You'll see firsthand how they operate and how they can streamline various aspects of SCOM maintenance, from data management to ensuring robust security with TLS enforcement. We're not just talking about these tools. I'll walk you through each one, showcasing how they work in real scenarios. We'll start with the Data Warehouse Grooming tool. It's designed to tackle one of the more tedious aspects of SCOM, managing the volume of data in the data warehouse. Let me show you how this tool not only analyzes and displays what's being stored, but also allows you to manage retention policies and cleanup operations with just a few clicks. Okay, let's dive into the SCOM DW Grooming tool. So first you're going to need to download it onto the machine that you're wanting to use it on. So let's go to the GitHub page. Alright, let's scroll down here. Here's the SCOM DW Grooming tool. Let's click on it. Alright, and you have a quick download link which will download the 64-bit version executable. But for today we're going to go to the releases on the right. And you can see the 32 and 64-bit executable here. Here's the 64-bit executable, which is the aka.ms link. We have the MSI, which is what we'll be testing with in a minute. And we have the PowerShell script. So we'll be testing with the MSI. Let's go ahead and download it. And let's show in folder. Let's get these cleaned out and extract. Alright, now let's install it. Okay, so now you'll see a folder in your Start menu, System Center Operations Manager Tools, and then System Center Operations Manager Data Warehouse Grooming Tool. So you should be able to, yeah. Let's run as administrator. And every time you open a tool, you'll be asked about the disclaimer until you accept it. So you have to make sure that you accept to be able to use the tool. So we'll accept it and OK. So whenever you do that, it's going to write a file to program data. It's going to write which user agreed to it and when they agreed. So this is how we keep track of licensing. All right. So now the tool has loaded in the data. So whenever it loads in data, it will gather like this. It will show the bars green, the green bars refreshing. And you have the option of exporting the current configuration if you wanted to save the data that you have currently for how many days and things like that you have currently configured. You can make a backup of that just so you can reference it later. But so like for the configuration data set that's selected, we cannot modify that data set inside this tool. You'll have to use other tools to modify this. But like for the event data set or any of these other ones, it's possible to modify them. So for instance, if we have the performance data set here. Let's say that we want to drop the size of this. Let's say we want to go down to 5 days. Say the gigabytes were extremely high. We need to groom out these three. So we could set that. All right. So now we can see here these are now non-default and set to 5, which is a low number of days. Just be cautious with that. You're losing a lot of data. But okay, so we can now go ahead and, if we want to, we can run grooming manually. But first we have to import the override MP, which will affect the standard dataset maintenance rule in SCOM for the data warehouse grooming jobs. So once you do this, it'll ask you a question. This will import a management pack into your System Center Operations Manager environment that disables the standard data warehouse dataset maintenance rule. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. The management pack has been written here. Okay. So let's check it out. Here's the rule property override for the standard data set, and it's being overridden to false. Yep. Okay, so that's that. Okay. All right, it's saying that it's imported it from the desktop, the override. So it will import a management pack into your environment here. This can easily be removed. Data warehouse internal library overrides. This one. It'll tell you in the description what it's doing here. And there's also a knowledge. And any dependencies? Nope. Okay, so to see the override in action, we're just going to go pull up the standard data set. So maintenance, view all targets, standard data set. Okay. Okay. Alright, so now we have the standard dataset maintenance rule. And we're going to override summary on that. So now we can see this standard dataset rule enable parameter is now changed to false. And it's also enforced. Alright. So that proves that the override is now working. So now if we were to select one of these data sets, let's say this data set. So the hourly aggregations for performance data set, it's at 0.027. Alright, let's wait just a few seconds here. And refresh. Yeah, it's went down. So it's already grooming it out. That's something to watch. And you should also see this down here. If you refresh this bottom part, the performance hourly, total days of data, will change to 5. So now it's groomed out the amount of data that it needs to get down to 5 days. So say now we need to revert the changes that we did to the performance data sets. So if we select one of them, hourly aggregations for one, and click on the reset to defaults button right here, we can set this. Let's see, did it not set? It's supposed to be 400. Alright, and then this one, 400, it's supposed to be 10. And this one's supposed to be 400. Alright, so now these are all are back to defaults, and we'll continue to run with the 410 values for the current retention dates. So after we're done with that, we want to make sure that we remove the override MP, because this can cause issues with just the automatic standard dataset maintenance inside of SCOM that keeps track of keeping the jobs going for the grooming jobs. You want to make sure that these are continuing to run as standard dataset maintenance. Rules need to be automatic and needs to happen on a regular basis. So it's better to let SCOM handle that with this rule. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the override MP. And you can either do it like this, or you can do it in the console and just select this management pack and delete. But this is what this is going to do here. So we'll remove that. Removal successful. Okay. And now it's gone there, and this is just make sure that it's gone here. Yes. Alright. Perfect. So now we can go start reviewing these other things. So the staging tables. The way a data warehouse works, you have data that comes into a staging table, and then the staging table processes it and gets it ready for the long-term storage in the data warehouse. So if the staging table is getting stuck with any large amount of data, you should know about it with this view here. And you can also set up auto refresh to allow it to keep up to date with what's happening as far as how much data is getting processed in the staging tables. As you can tell, it's a pretty active, bunch of tables here. It's important that these tables stay processed and don't back up. They should typically return to near zero, if not zero itself. It's good to keep an eye on this from time to time just to make sure nothing's blocking. And something cool down here is that you can also change the graphs for some of these here. So it makes it easier to be able to follow, and you can send pictures or whatever you need to do to your teammates to be able to elaborate what the problem is in the staging tables, if there is any. So that's one way to do it. And we have the full history here, which will show all of the events for each data set and when they ran and how many outstanding aggregation counts we have currently and over time. So it just makes it easier to be able to see that from a high level of what's going on. Like say we have an issue with the performance data set and we want to see when the last hourly aggregation is for that, and go through each of those to see that. Or maybe we know that the issue occurred on, I don't know, the 28th. We can see how the times on the 28th where, for each hour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 23. So, yeah, you just need to keep this in mind as far as, you can see the data, last received date, time, all these different things that can help you potentially troubleshoot an issue inside of SCOM DW grooming. You can export the current output so you can keep track of the data that you're seeing and potentially share it with others if you need to. So we have grooming history, which will give you a high-level overview of what's going on with some of these data sets. Just, it'll tell you the last grooming time and the max age of data, and the outstanding aggregation count currently for each of these data sets. Just can be helpful to be able to look at and compare. So, and also, I don't think I've mentioned this, but you can set the user up here and say that you have a colleague who has more permissions than you do in the data warehouse, that you could utilize their credentials, have them RDP to your machine and type in their credentials and run this tool as their account, so that you can make the changes that you need to and do the things that you need to. And you also have Kevin Holman's blog post here, which is important to read and understand. You need to go ahead. I would recommend everyone who's trying to use this tool to at least read this once to make get a good understanding of what to and not to do whenever you're editing data sets. Just so there's a lot of room for error if you're doing something wrong, as far as maybe you're like, I don't care about event data set, I'm going to set this to 0. Like, that's a big deal. I wouldn't do that. It's just things that you need to understand a little bit further, Just do some light reading. He does mention the tool right here in this blog post. And thank you, Kevin, again for writing this blog post. It's very, very helpful and helps our customers understand further what to do when they're messing around with their data warehouse data sets. He calls out the tool here as well. This is actually a screenshot of an older version of the tool. But so he also has the queries to manually do it. And if you ever have any questions, he's always very helpful and will answer any questions that you have, typically, pretty quickly. He's very active in the community, so I really recommend him. But yeah, so you could put any. You can also change the data warehouse database. This is pulled from the registry, so in case you're getting some issue connecting, make sure that validate that this information is correct, and you can connect and gather new data. So, and there's also the disclaimer is up here, so you can see the legal and license information for MIT. But I hope that this tool was helpful for you and that you can utilize it in your environments effectively. I hope it helps. All right, let's move on to the next tool. The SCOM Data Collector is a comprehensive tool that aggregates critical operational data. Whether you need event logs, update history, or performance data, this tool collects it. Watch as I demonstrate its capabilities, and you'll see how it can be your go-to for thorough environmental assessments. Okay, next we're going to talk about the SCOM Data Collector. So first we need to download it. Let's go to the GitHub page, github.com/platedrum. If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see SCOM scripts in SQL. Click on that. And on the right, you see releases. This is where all the releases are. So we have 4.0.5, 4.3.2, 1.0. All the releases that I've made so far on it are there. And if you don't see down here, there's a download link, a quick download link, an alternate download link. We're just going to go to the releases. Let's click on the latest one. There's a change log. There's a report builder, which this tool right here will allow you to take the CSVs, which are outputted with this, and make it into a be able to import it into Excel and add spreadsheets for each one of the CSVs, so you can easily go through all the data quickly. But today we're just going to be using this SCOM data collector.zip, and I've already downloaded it. So here we go. You extract it out, and so one thing you want to make sure of whenever you run this is right click on the script itself, the data collector, and go to properties. And if you see here at the bottom, there's unblock. Make sure that the script's not blocked. And you can do that with the other script as well, just to be sure. And because I've already ran this file is right here. This is what the output of the script looks like whenever it's done. So I'll show you how to run it. You can run it multiple ways. You can right click and run with PowerShell, which will allow you to use the built-in menu, or you can run it with parameters that you want to do manually. So you have two ways of doing it. See, if you wanted to like gather all data, you could do like all -all, and if you knew that you have permissions to all the things that you need permissions to, like the SQL database or the remote machines, you could just do yes to this -yes, and you won't get asked any questions, and it'll start the script. So that's one way to get it to start executing. So whenever you start executing, it's going to write a output folder right here, which has all the files that it's using to export. Like all these SQL files are exporting as a CSV in here. So that's one way to run it. Another way is to run with PowerShell and use the built-in menu. When you do this, it tries to relaunch as an administrator, so just do yes to this question. And it says, would you like to run the script as the SDK account? No. And we have a couple options here. So usually we run option 1. If you are on an older version of the data collector, which it's possible because this tool is updated quite regularly, you can do option 4. But usually we just do option 1. So let's go ahead and do option 1. And we're going to gather as much data as possible. There's option 1A, 1B, and 1C. 1A will let you get specific Windows agents to be gathered information from. So say you have agent 1, agent 2, agent 3, you could gather agent 1, agent 2, agent 3 with 1A if you use that option. But typically we just go with 1B and get an overview of the environment, not specific agents as well, just the environment as a whole. And we have option 1C, which will let you get the SCOM Linux data collector, which is developed by Mudair. And but yeah, so this one is useful if you have Linux machines, but typically again we just use usually 1B. Do you want to run extended latency checks? Yes. This allows each server. Well, it's better to get the extended latency checks just to make sure that everything's communicating as it should be between each server. And does this following account have permissions to the Operations Manager DB and the Data Warehouse DB? Yes. So now it'll take a little bit, but we don't have to wait on that to finish. It runs queries against the Operations Manager database, the Data Warehouse database, and it gathers a ton of information. So if you see here, this STC results is one from one I ran previously, but we can just look at the output real quick. So the CSVs are right here. This is all the SQL files and other data that's just pulled with PowerShell potentially. And here's the certificates and event logs and all these things that are very relevant and useful to be able to look at. But usually the first thing we look at is best practices, just to verify that there's no issues, and next would be the general information, but I don't have enough time to go into that on this tool, but I might record a later session. But let's get on to the next tool. Next, let's talk about the database move tool. When you need to migrate your SCOM databases, this tool streamlines the process, making it less daunting. I'll walk you through a demo to show you just how this tool updates configurations and reduces the risk of migration errors. Okay, next we're going to talk about the SCOMDB move tool. So first we'll need to download it. Let's go to the GitHub page, github.com/BlakeDrum. Let's scroll down. SCOM reconfigure DB move tool. And we have the quick download link here, which is the aka.ms/scom-db-move-tool. We have the releases on the right, which is where we're going to go. This is the latest release. And we're going to download the MSI, but we have options of downloading the 32 and 64-bit, or the 64-bit, or the PowerShell. So let's go ahead and download the MSI. And I have it downloaded here. Let's extract that out and install. And run it anyway. Next. Yes, and finish. Alright, so now we will have a tools folder here. So this is the System Center Operations Manager tools, and then the System Center Operations Manager reconfigure database move tool. So let's run that as a administrator. And you'll get a pop-up about a disclaimer for the MIT license. Let's go ahead and accept that, otherwise you can't run the tool. And keep in mind that there is also different languages here for the tool. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. And this might just take a moment to open. Alright, so whenever you open a tool, you have the tool will automatically test connection to the databases set for the in the registry. So in this situation, the SQL02 is not able to connect to that, and we could see here if we go to activity log, it tells us why. So you could troubleshoot that further if there's an issue, but I know because I set this previously to be incorrect. What it needs to be is SQL01. So the database that we need to modify and connect to is going to be SQL01. So I'll update up here. So that's the one that the tool is going to try to connect to and modify. Or potentially you could update CLR, broker, and full text on these servers up here as well. So this is important to take note of. What we're going to be setting it to is going to be SQL01 and Operations Manager and Operations Manager DW and SQL01. So this is the values to set section, which will allow you to change the values in the database or the registry or the configuration files on the management servers. So we'll see what the current configuration is by clicking on this View Database Configuration button. And we'll see here that the Operations Manager tables, all listed here, have the values currently set to SQL02. Is broker enabled is true. Is CLR enabled is true. And is full text enabled is true. And here's the DW configuration. So it's a good idea to go ahead and test the connection and make sure these are green check marks. If it's green, it's good. In my situation, the SDK service wasn't running, so it wasn't able to get a list based on get-scom management server, but because I've set this correctly up here now to the right database, I can click on this button again, and it'll pull in the management servers from the database itself, because my SDK service is still down. Just give it that one moment. Alright, so now this has been updated. So we have these options of view configuration file, which I'll go ahead and click on. So this will view the configuration file for whatever management server you've selected back here. And for this instance, it's set to SQL 02. So if we wanted to verify that, we could search it down here. All this is doing up here is just parsing the XML. You have the location right here, which you can right click on to open up File Explorer to open up the directory. This can be remote or local. If you left click on it, it will open up a editor, whatever you have set to open up config files by default. You can make a backup of the config file by saving this with this button right here. And you can open up a notepad explicitly by clicking on this button. So we can close it out and go to the view related registry data. And this will show us the registry data that's configured on the management server for the Operation Manager database. So let's go ahead and we can see the options here. So by default, I will leave this alone, but you have the options of changing these, whatever you want to run for these two columns here, the SQL update SQL or restart services. If you know that SQL, either you don't have permissions to run it, or you know that it's already configured correctly, you can uncheck these and it won't try to connect to SQL and update the tables and columns and values in the database. So, but by default it will. So we'll leave that by default, and it's recommended to run it by default, by the way. So once you click start, it will try to run the tool. And it's just telling you everything that it's doing as it's doing it. So what the old value is, what the new value is, what it's changing from. It's telling step by step what it's doing. So you can follow what it's doing pretty clearly. And now it's updating or clearing the cache on the local management server. It also says it down here. So while that's running, I'll go ahead and show you the other cool feature, which is to change the language. It doesn't change the activity log, but it does change the UI itself. So if you see here, we can go and change it to any of these languages, and all these submenus and things are going to be in that language as well. So it's something to take note of, that it's multilingual. So now it's running on the remote management server. Alright, so now it's done. You have the option of saving the output up here, or clearing the output if you want to clear this activity log. Saving it would be helpful if you want to show it to your colleagues if there's an issue. You can show them proof from the script that it's either failing for permissions, or if something was incorrectly configured, you can show them the output with the tool, what the tool done. And you have, lastly, we have these links up here. So this is the official documentation on managing and moving the SCOM databases. And here is the disclaimer. So I hope this tool proves helpful, and we'll move on to the next tool. There are times when quick data removal from the SCOM database is necessary, and that's where the remove data script excels. This tool helps you remove data related to specific server or client issues rapidly, without the need for complex SQL interactions. Let's look at how this script simplifies what would otherwise be a complex data cleanup task. Okay, next we're going to be talking about the remove data from SCOM tool. So we'll go ahead and copy over the script, go to the GitHub page, github.com/BlakeDrum. Let's go to SCOM scripts and SQL, and PowerShell, and quick fixes. And in here you'll see the remove SCOM base managed entity script. We'll go ahead and copy the raw file contents. Let's go paste it into the PowerShell ISC. So here on line 769, this is what we can run. We can run this in PowerShell ISC if we modify this line here. So we can, let's say, remove this server here. So we have agent 01 right here. Let's go ahead and copy this out. So this is the server I want to remove from SCOM. So this tool, what it's going to do is it's going to attempt to delete it from the SCOM console first, just like you would normally in the console. It will go to the server and delete it, and then it will, after that, it will attempt to remove the traces of it from the database, and then it will finally purge it out of the database, so it's completely gone. So let's go ahead and check this out and run this. And typically you only run this if you really have a problem with specific agent. So you'll get the question, do you want to delete this SCOM agent from managed computers? And yes. So it's going to delete it from agent managed computers. And then you have the, see all these are is deleted true. That's because it was deleted from the SCOM console. So we're going to, it says, do you want to delete the above 6 items? Yes, we do. Go ahead and purge it out. Alright, now this is the purge step. So do you want to purge deleted items? Usually this happens on a schedule, but you can also force it with this, and it will purge it out. So now if we go back here, we'll see that it's removed. There's not any data related to it. So I hope this helps you out. Let's move on to the next tool. The SCOM certificate checker is all about trust and security. Certificates need to be valid and up to date, and this tool automates the validation process. In the demo, you'll see how it checks the certificates on your management servers, gateways, and agents, ensuring everything is secure. Okay, next we're going to talk about the SCOM cert checker tool. So first we need to download it. Let's go to the SCOM scripts in SQL and PowerShell. And if you scroll down, test SCOM certificate. So let's copy the raw contents of this one, and we can pull it right over into PowerShell ISE. And you see line 772, so this is what's going to run if we try to run it in the ISE window. We can modify what it's going to do if we want to. So by default, the way it's going to run is if you just push play, it'll check locally and verify the serial number matches up in the registry. So here's the certificate, and here's the serial number. Here's the registry, and this is the number we're looking at. So it starts with 35 over here, but it ends with 35 over here. It's reversed in pairs of 2. So see 06 right here and 06 at the beginning. So these two match up. This is that certificate, and it's checking that certificate to make sure that everything's correctly configured. So that's how you do it for one server. And if you need to do like all the certificates in your certificate store just to verify if a new certificate you're about to implement is going to work with SCOM, you can run this command. This will check all the certificates in the certificate store, and it'll show you, 1 out of 2, 2 out of 2, what certificate it is. You can match up the serial number. Okay, so that's one thing you can do as well. You can also run against multiple machines at once. So let's see what this is going to do here. Alright, so one section is MS01 2016, which is this section, and it goes from here to here. And then you have this section here, which starts with certificate checker, and there's no certificate imported on MS02, at least not written to registry. So the momcert import tool was not run. But anyway, you can run this also on gateways, and I'll show you that output real quick. So yep, as long as you see this green down here, that means that you're good to go. If you see that down at the bottom, that means that you are correctly configured and ready to start using that certificate, and it should be using it already. So I hope this helps everybody. Let's move on to the next tool. Finally, we have the TLS 1.2 and 1.3 enforcement tool. As we heighten security measures, enforcing these protocols is non-negotiable. I will demonstrate how the script ensures your environment is compliant with these critical security standards. Next, we'll talk about the SCOM TLS enforcement script. So first, we're going to need to download it. For this one, we're going to go to the website, blakedrum.com. We're going to go to TLS 1.2 and 1.3. So this is the URL up here. And for this, there's a script for the enforcement of TLS 1.2 and 1.3, and then we have the script down here which will let you check the configuration after everything's configured, so you can double check that everything's configured correctly. First, we're going to run this just so I can show you what it's currently set to. Alright, so TLS is not enforced. So it's a good time to use the script then. So we'll go back here, go back a page. Here's the how to get the script. I'm going to do the text format. Just copy it out, paste it. So first question is going to ask, would you like to download the prerequisite files to the local directory? I don't want it in System32. I'm going to do no. And then we'll do yes to we want to download another directory. And I want to actually put it in ctemp. So it's downloading the files to ctemp. Oh, I came across an error. Because I'm not UR4 or later, there's a problem that I can't enforce TLS 1.2. So the script's not going to work here. You have to be on the correct version. And you know, there's online articles in the Microsoft Docs on how to, on what versions you need to be for TLS 1.2 enforcement to work. But for instance, we could go to, let's say 2019. We'll do this. Alright, so if we go here and paste this and run it again. No. Yes. This is it working for TLS 1.2. And after, you have to reboot the server. Pause the recording. Okay, the server's back up, and we're going to check the registry now for the TLS. Alright, so TLS 1.2 is true for enabled. Everything else is false. TLS 1.3 can't be enabled on 2019 because it's not compatible. This is set SCH use strong crypto, so that's going to enforce TLS 1.2. And we have the prerequisite files that are required for 1.2 enforcement. And .NET Framework matches up. So that we're looking good. So that should be all you need to do to enforce TLS 1.2. I wanted to show you the output of environment that had 1.3 enabled real quickly. So TLS 1.3 will be useful whenever SCOM 2025 comes out. There may be different requirements by then, but I'll keep the script up to date. So here you can see TLS 1.2 and 1.3 are enabled. SCH use strong crypto is true, and the prerequisite files are there. So I hope this helps somebody, and we'll move on to the next tool. The System Center Operations Manager failover tool is in development. You can check my website to see details on the release when it comes out. Alright, now it's time for Q&A.